Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in this College Roundtable series. My name is Ed Lubin. I'm one of the interns working at Amherst Regional High School, and I'll be moderating today. The purpose of this session is to talk about some of the multiple pathways that students can venture into when thinking about post-secondary opportunities in going to college, whether it is starting at going straight to a four-year university, or today talking about some of the options that community colleges provide. I'll be introducing our wonderful panelists in just a sec. I just want to remind people, most of the audience, I think all the audience is on mute right now, but if you do have questions, please type them into the live chat. And my goal will be to mix them into the conversation throughout the session, but we will also save some time at the end for some Q&A. So if that's all set, I think we can get started. I think first up is Andrea, if you want to introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thanks, Ed. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Andrea Bienvenu. I am an admission counselor at Springfield Technical Community College. Just a quick introduction. We are a technical community college. We are the only technical community college in Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts. So we have a strong focus on the STEM field, but we also have a School of General and Professional Studies. We also have a School of Health as well, too. So I'm looking forward to working with the panelists that are here today, give you some great information about what opportunities are out there for you, and hopefully answer some of your questions when it comes to community college and stepping on and transferring to a four-year school. So, thanks, Ed.
Hello, Ed. Can you hear me okay? You're muted, Ed. I don't know if you realize that. There you go. I didn't hear anything you just said.
Oh, lovely.
But no worries, no worries. We'll move forward. Thank you so much for having me, Ed, and for everybody out there. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us. And for my fellow colleagues on the panel, I really appreciate this opportunity. My name is Hellum. I'm an admission coordinator at Greenfield Community College. In the Office of Admission. And, we are one of 15 community colleges within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. One of the aspects of Greenfield Community College that makes it special from perhaps other ones is our focus on liberal arts education. Many of our students are enrolled in liberal arts options that present transfer pathways to bachelor degree programs that many of our students pursue. We offer over 65 different certificate and degree options, all designed with stackability in mind so that students can build their academic careers in concurrence with their professional careers. I think one of the aspects of that the students are facing these days moving into college is how we're thinking about it differently. That idea of going away to college for 4 years for a career training, career preparation, then coming out and moving right into it, working for 25, 30 years and then retiring is not the way that it's working anymore. Another aspect of your education is, and I really want to stress this a lot because I think it's incredibly important that your education is yours and yours alone, according to nobody else's timeline and nobody else's expectations. The wonderful aspect that community colleges present for students is a flexibility of options. We build academic pathways for our students to allow them to move forward according to their own identified goals, what it is that they want out of their education. We can talk about different kinds of guided pathways and articulated models. What it comes right down to is that most community colleges in the Commonwealth present opportunities for students to be able to create their own pathways. and according to their own timelines, and transfer to state universities or any other university as well. All of our credits are designed with national standards in mind, so that transferability is at its core. So I highly recommend it. I think any more these days, especially, in addition to the flexibility, affordability is also on everybody's mind as they're starting to make their decisions for higher education. And anymore, it ends up becoming a fiscal one at the same time that it becomes something more long-term. And I think that, the community colleges present the opportunity for students to be able to earn the front part of their bachelor's degree program and then transfer and graduate with 43% less of the costs total for their bachelor degrees education. So I'm hoping that students are thinking about community colleges as a first option. Thank you so much, Ed.
Yes, of course. Thank you. And thank you for the reminder. Appreciate it. I think next up we have Harold, I think, coming to us from Holyoke Community College. Great to have you, Harold.
Good afternoon, Ed. Thanks for having us. Really excited to be here. My fellow alumni school, Amherst High School. This is Holyoke Community College. We are right here in Western Massachusetts. We're one of the 15, obviously, as Aaron had just alluded to. We are all different and unique. What I can share a little bit about HCC is some of our unique programs. We have the only culinary program this side of the state. It's a culinary associate degree as well as a certificate program. And we specialize in liberal arts transfer as well, along with some specialized career training in nursing, LPN, radiology, and those health career fields. So I didn't want to take up a lot of time. I'm going to give all of the panelists an opportunity to speak. And thank you. We look forward to hearing from you later this afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Harold. And I think next up, we are about to go into some four-year universities. So can I have Nicole come up and share some of her experiences?
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm one of the counselors at Bridgewater State University. Thank you for having me. This is a great session to be a part of because, starting off at a community college is such a great option, especially, these days, like Aaron was talking about with, the affordability and the 43%, it's a great option. So transferring at Bridgewater to Bridgewater is very common. 50% of our incoming students are actually transfer students. So that means we have the infrastructure and the team ready to help students along the way. We have our transfer services. So they work one-on-one with students to make sure that you have everything that you need, in order to apply and transfer as many credits as possible. We have a very, very liberal credit policy because we want to be as transfer friendly as we can. When transferring from a 2-year institution, we can receive a max of 69 credits. And when transferring from a 4-year institution, it's 90 credits. So, thinking that most 4-year bachelor degrees, graduation requirements is 120 credits. With those, you're more than halfway there. So great opportunity to do so. We have equivalency tools on our website. So if you are, at a school and thinking about transferring, you can actually go in and see all the classes that we have transferred in the past for students. So that way you can see if, say you took this certain English, this certain, math, say at Springfield Tech, you can actually see how it transferred for other students in the past. So that's a great way to kind of gauge on your own when you're making those decisions. And also our transfer services office is, so happy to work one-on-one with the best path available to you. We are a part of Mass Transfer as a public university. So we work with, many of the colleges and universities within Massachusetts, and there's different pathways and ways to go about within Mass Transfer. One being the Mass Transfer block, and so allows students to fulfill the general education requirements at one of our Massachusetts community colleges, and then transferring those all those credits over to one of the four-year institutions. So, that's a great way to get all those credits in. So, and quickly a little bit about BSU. We're in southeastern Massachusetts, around 45 minutes from Boston and Providence, 90 plus areas of study. So we really cover so many different bases, and I would be happy to answer any questions about BSU and what it's like transferring to BSU. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Nicole. I think next up we have Victoria from Becker College. Very nice to meet you, Victoria.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Victoria. I'm an admissions counselor with Becker College. We have two campuses. One's based in Worcester and one in Leicester. We pride ourselves on being a transfer-friendly institution. We offer both associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. So as an app reviewer, I'm familiar with some of these other schools' names based on the transcripts I've received. It's so tough to determine right out of high school what you want to study. So we're happy to see if students have realized that they want to pursue a course of study that we offer, and want to transfer their credits to our institution. We're happy to work with you. We do also have an agreement with mass transfer, so we're able to accept a good amount of credits from most community colleges in the area. We have one of those tables, conversion tables on our website, so students can easily see what they've already have the credits for and what they may need to plan for in their future program of study. So we do accept the GED, the HiSET, we accept their associate's degrees. You're able to apply up to 45 credits for an associate's degree or 90 credits for a Bachelor of Science or Arts. Like I said, we're happy to work with you. We know it's been a tricky year to find a institution that works for your budget. So we see a lot of students who start off at a community college and then come join us afterwards. So we're always happy to welcome new students.
All right, thank you, Victoria. And I think we have one more, Tiffany, coming to us from Greenfield Community College. Is Tiffany there? All right. Oh, she may come back to us later. Okay. Awesome. So it's very lovely to have our panelists here today to talk about some of these options that students have in transferring to a four-year universities from community college. I wanted to start off by jumping off a point that Victoria just made in terms of some of the adjustments that students and their families have had to make as a result of the pandemic. So I guess the question I pose to our panelists are some of the successes and challenges of meeting students where they're at as they try and figure out how to get to where they want to go through the transfer program in the midst of the pandemic. All right. So I am going to start with you, Andrea.
Hi, thank you.
Yes.
All right, you can see me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So that's a great question. So we are all, I just want to start by saying, I hope you guys are all giving yourselves a pat on the back. I hope you guys are recognizing how unique of a situation that we are in and how incredible our students have just been incredible, from elementary to high school to college level. Just the adjustments you've been forced to make and how everything you've known when it's come to learning has been forced to change. And it just shows how resilient that you guys are. And I just give yourself a lot of credit. I hope you guys recognize that as well too. It's tough. You guys are getting there. Hopefully we're not having these same style conversations this time next year when you're in college. But the truth is it's definitely been a challenge all around. We've had to learn how to do everything brand new and unique ways. But we've also talked about how some of these changes have actually forced us to help students for the better, just by even having options that we didn't have before. So, you know, we're a very traditional school, so it's a lot of, if you want to meet with your professor, you have to go to office hours. Office hours are this time in this office. Maybe it's through email, maybe it's through phone. But obviously that's not realistically the situation right now. Our campus is currently closed except for selected majors. And from there, what we have to do is we were forced to just make some changes. So now we have opportunities that actually make things more convenient for our students. So instead of having those office hours on campus, you can actually video chat with your professor. You don't have to worry about driving to campus. We still have all of our offices that are open. They are accessible through what our live chat connectors. They are accessible through info sessions, one-on-one phone calls. There's still the ability to connect and assist students throughout this process. We still have a lot of resources that are now have always been available to students, but students are taking more advantage of them. So one thing that I believe it was Nicole and Victoria brought up is the mass transfer. That's something you're going to hear a lot today. So the mass transfer website is going to be a huge tool that's going to be helpful and accessible throughout this time. If you go over and look at it, it'll actually assist you with pathways. So if you're somebody that knows you want to go into engineering, and maybe you want to start at a community college, you start there, and it'll show you the pathway to what school you want to go to. If you want to end up at Bridgewater, if you want to end up at Becker, what classes you'll have to take to help assist you with that. I realize I don't want to be talking my ear off, so I'm going to cut it off there. I'm going to let one of my other colleagues jump in because I know they have a lot of great information to share as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Aaron, you said you had a few words?
Yes, thanks, Ed. I just kind of wanted to follow up with what Andrea was talking about in terms of offering remote services for students. I think it's important to know that for the most part, community colleges already had a lot of its pedagogy components online or online versions of their coursework already in place, so that for us to make that pivot wasn't as challenging or as difficult in that instance as many other more traditional colleges and universities or residential colleges and universities had to go through in order to make those kinds of transitions and adapt to that. And I think what Andrea was referring to as well, which is really important to understand, is that all of our student support services at Greenfield Community College are now available in a remote setting, so that any student, regardless of location, which in Franklin County is something that we have struggled with in terms of our students having accessibility because of location. Now everything is available online, so that students have access, to our peer tutoring, our peer mentoring, our wellness center, our math studio. In addition to, as Andrea had indicated as well, all of our faculty members. In addition to that. So it's something to bear in mind. If I'm a lot like Andrea. I'm hoping that this is a lot more temporary than more long term, and hopefully we'll be back to campus, where our services can be in place once again. However, with the uncertainty of moving into the future, and you're having to make these kinds of decisions, which my heart goes out to all of you to have to do that in these kinds of situations, to bear in mind that there are other options. So that if you want to pursue with your academic career, that you don't have to put it on pause, or you don't have to wait until all of everything else is back to normal again. to be able to continue with your education, that there are options available even for a semester or two, if that's what it takes, as a placeholder before moving into a college that you want to enter into. There's lots of different possibilities, and as I said initially, it's according to your own timeline and your own expectations. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Aaron. Harold, you had a few words?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in as well, guys, that, we at HCC are also remote, and just to kind of give you a timeline as to when you may see on-campus classes resuming, which were scheduled, I believe, for the fall of 2021. But there are certain programs at the campus who will be resuming on campus. As Andrew had mentioned, certain programs. One of our programs that we are resuming is our Culinary Arts Certificate program, which will be resuming on campus in small groups. But hopefully, eventually, as we said, fall 2021 will be back on campus and in a blend of other opportunities to continue remote learning and or do remote learning and on campus as well. So just wanted to share that little tidbit about HCC's situation right now.
All right. Thank you. And a theme that I'm noticing is the adjustments that community colleges have made, partly based on what they already had in place with remote learning features and how that's being used to support students as they seek to transition. Wondering for four-year universities what options that they are providing for students that are transferring out onto their campuses. Yeah, I'm wondering if Nicole, if you had a few words to say about that.
Hi. Yes. So, it's great hearing, from all the different schools. And yeah, I just want to echo the sentiment that, we have online resources and our support systems are in place to be able to, support you during this time, even if coming to campus isn't as possible. If you're looking to maybe go to community college for a semester or two, but want to see how that could translate to a four-year college, whether it be Bridgewater or another school, you can always reach out to us, and we can work with everyone one-on-one to make sure that you are all set up and have the path and the goal that you're looking for. So even right now we have online transfer services sessions, whether it be through a Zoom meeting or an opportunity to connect one-on-one, also with admissions counselors to be able to make sure you're all set in transferring, criteria-wise. And so we just want to, make sure you're best supported and the resources are available to you even in the online setting. And so hopefully by the time that you would transfer, we will be more in an in-person setting, and this world will go back to a little bit more normal. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and I think that is it's a hope for all of us, but it looks like each college has their options on ways that they could support students. Is there anyone else that had a few words to share before we move on? All right. So, in the context of students that are seeking to go to a community college, for example, a lot of students, as a result of their academic progress in high school, going to community college may be a chance for them to kind of refine some of those skills that will be needed in order to make the transition. If colleges would like to talk about, what are ways that you support students, that are seeking to build on their academic skill set so that they can be able to have a successful transfer to whichever pathways they choose. All right. Hey, Andrea.
Thanks, Ed. So that's a great question. So some of my colleagues on here who I see pretty regularly, they may have heard me say it before. I like to refer to community college as the most affordable and accessible form of education. Now we're kind of focusing right now on the accessibility part of it. And so the beauty of community college is it gives everybody, no matter what their educational background, a chance at higher ed and pursuing their educational future. And we work very, very closely, particularly with the four-year schools and all of our pathways to kind of help and assist these students that may just be, I don't want to use the term missing the mark because that's not it, but maybe to help better prepare them for what their next steps with their bachelor's degrees will be. We work very closely with we have over 400 pathways to both four-year public and private schools in all different areas throughout our campus. There's one local college that I have in mind that has a strong engineer program, and they very commonly will meet with us or refer students to us and say, you know what, we really like this student, we want this student, but we just want them just to bring up their grades a little bit just to help prepare them better for this program. And they'll say, you know, start at STIC, do a semester or two, and then reapply. But if you get this certain GPA that can prepare you for scholarships, it can help assist you with that. So we have a great, you know, it may seem, I don't like to use the term that we're competitors of one another. We technically are, but we're more of sister colleges, and the whole goal in mind is to help assist the student throughout the process and get them to their end goal. STIC in particular, like I said, besides our pathways and our agreements with the local well, not just the local, but the four-year private schools and public schools, we have a transfer counselor who specifically is there to help you throughout the transfer process, walk you through the transfer process. We have specific counselors from certain schools that are actually on our campus weekly. Some of them are on our campus weekly. Some of them are on almost every other day, just because they want to be as available as possible to our students to help assist them and actually be able to advise them, whether it's about what classes they should or shouldn't be taking, what classes they may need to improve on. Our tutoring center is there to help specifically with that as well, too. So the biggest part of it is, you know, helping the student succeed academically, but also helping them reach their goal. And we reach their goal by working together, having a close connection, having constant conversation, checking in with that student, make sure all their goals are being met to help assist them with their future. It's a great option for students. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Andrea. Harold, you said you had a few words?
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Andrea. So yeah, just know that wherever you are academically, as Andrea had mentioned, we get students of all walks of life who come in at different levels and abilities. And the support on campus for those students is second to none. We really want to improve their life. We want them to succeed at HCC. We want them to transfer. So again, the transfer programs are geared, specifically tailored to do that transfer process with the student in mind, that they don't really have to do much but take the curricular courses that are on the curriculum and qualify to transfer upon meeting the minimum threshold GPAs. But again, the support on campus, whether it's academic support, tutoring support, staff is available to students now more than ever because of the technology that we're using. So you know, they're tailored programs specifically for you, so that you can move on to your next destination, whether it be a university, a private, a public school. We just want the student in mind to know that they are well and capable of completing their associate degree and moving on. And we hope that, you know, you consider one of the community colleges here in the Pioneer Valley.
All right. Thank you, Harold. All right. Aaron, you said you had a few words.
Thanks, Ed. I really appreciate that. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to it, you know, because a lot like my colleagues at the other institutions, we do have a lot of support services in place to ensure student success. I think when you're talking about students looking to improve upon academic progress, I think it's a little bit different than that. I think it really is a transition for students to have to learn how to identify themselves as college students versus identifying themselves as high school students. And I know the students out there watching, they've been, I think it's a matter of differentiating the two different questions that are being conflated into one when students are being asked what they want to do with their lives. There's the two questions that are embedded in that is, what do I want to do? That question that's sort of that strikes that passion within you, that soulful question. Who am I going to be as a people and as a citizen as I get older? And then there's a second question of, what do I want to do for money? And those are two very disparate questions. And when thinking about higher education, I urge students to try to keep those as separate as possible. Ideally, in the long run, you're going to want those to align at some point in your lives. But for right now, your education is designed to help you understand who you are as a person and as a citizen in the world, help locate yourself in that, to be able to think about critical thinking and communication, quantitative literacy, scientific reasoning, all the skills that are going to benefit you in both your professional as well as your personal lives. That teaches you how to be a people in the world, and what community colleges especially afford, and at Greenfield Community College in particular, is that opportunity for an academic playground, to be able to explore the liberal arts and that foundational education, to find out who you are and what matters to you, what you care about, what you're passionate about, and what you want to pursue. So that later down the line, you can start to answer that question of, what do I want to do for money? So I highly encourage students, as you're looking at your higher education choices, to put that, to prioritize that, that education is first and foremost an act of self-discovery. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. And that brings up an interesting question as well, especially students that are looking to strengthen their identities, particularly in transition to four-year universities, where sometimes the transition is hard and there's a lot of details in place on how to adjust from coming from a two-year institution to a four-year institution. So I'm wondering, for our four-year institutions here, what are some ways that you support students once they do transition and as they're trying to adjust to the classes, as well as the overall campus life? Wondering if, Nicole, if you'd be willing to take that question.
Sure. So first off, like I mentioned earlier, we have many students who are transferring to BSU every year. Yeah, as I said, 50% of our incoming students are transfer students. So that means there's a lot of people going through the same thing at the same time. We have, special groups, both in our, virtually on our mobile app and through orientation, where, transfer students come together and are able to act as a resource for one another, and a great way to make friends who have also attended, community colleges, other, public and privates. So on the, social side, we have that foundation. I always recommend that students get involved, and that's the best way to become acclimated with the campus culture, to join organizations. We have 90+ student organizations on campus. And, as I said, we have so many students transferring in. It's really common to, join an organization. It doesn't have to be starting off as a freshman. That any year you can join whatever interest you have. As well as, we have plenty of academic support. So if you're having a little bit of troubles, adjusting to, campus culture and then also academics, we have our Academic Achievement Center. And so that acts as our one-stop shop for really any academic support a student may need, whether it be, tutoring or advising. Our advisors are great in figuring out, upcoming class schedules and really, your path, what you would like to do, and making sure that you get towards that goal. So yeah, in terms, I feel like there's a lot of, camaraderie in all of our services on campus, whether you're living on campus or off campus. wants to be able to support you and find the resources that you need. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Victoria, I was wondering if you had a few words to share.
Sure. So we do have a very strong transfer population as well, and we actually recently readjusted the staffing responsibilities of our career center. So half of our counseling staff works with students who come in with under 60 credits, and the other half work with students who come with 60 or over 59 credits, I believe it is. So so those counselors are prepared to work with transfer students, and they're more familiar with working with students who have some courses already as part of their plan. So I think that adjustment is helpful to students, so that the person they're working with is familiar both with the freshman and sophomore Becker curriculum and with the curriculum from area community colleges or part of the mass transfer agreement. So that gives you a leg up in terms of academic support. And as Nicole mentioned, this goes for any student, no matter which part of the college experience you're entering as either a freshman or a transfer. Getting involved is crucial. I think a lot of transfer students come in especially vulnerable because they're new to the school and to the school's culture. But keeping in mind they are not the only transfer students coming in is important to just meeting people, making friends. So getting involved off campus, on campus, in the classroom, whatever suits your interests and gets you to know the people that you are working and living with.
All right. Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, and I think for a lot of different student populations, trying to make the jump from 2-year to 4-year universities, what you all are highlighting is that level of support that you provide, but also providing space for students to grow in their own self-concept and identity and finding people they can build a community with. I want to switch gears and also talk about students that may also be working other jobs. There are students that either are coming back to school and trying to raise families and trying to finish their education, but particularly for our students today, some of them are working, some of them may have families of their own that they need to support. So I guess my question is, beginning with the community colleges, is, what efforts have your schools made of supporting students like that? Right, Andrea.
Keep forgetting to unmute. Great question. So I think you bring up a great point. There's no cookie cutter when it comes to a student, a college student, especially a community college student. The average age of our students is actually 25. So it's safe to assume that most of our students, whether you're coming right out of high school or whether you are 10, 20, 30 years past that, we are prepared to give our students as much flexibility as possible. And what clarifies as flexibility? There's no requirement for most programs to go to attend full-time. You can go part-time, full-time, evening, online. More online is becoming an option right now. Evening courses are available for students as well too. So as much availability and flexibility for our students is a good place to start. In addition to other forms of support, we actually have a great program on our campus called CAS, Center for Access Services. And it is specifically an office that is there to support our students through unique situations. So this could be if you need assistance with housing. This could be if we have a food pantry, if you need emergency funding, kind of students that are in unfortunate situations unexpectedly last minute. there are always going to be some sort of support services that are going to be there to help support the student, not just educationally, but as a whole. We want you to be able to succeed. We want you to be able to grow with your future, and we want to do our best to help you grow throughout that process and support you throughout that process, whatever that might be. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah. All right, Aaron.
Thank you, Ed. I really appreciate it. In kind of building off what Andrea is saying, in addition to all those very specific support services that the community colleges offer for their for students, as you're saying, Ed, that have other life priorities, whether they're working jobs, whether they're raising families, have families of their own, I think it's important to also understand how the community college views each individual student as a whole person. That when you step inside the doors of a community college, that we're not just ceasing to see the different versions of who you are, but really embracing you completely. Knowing that adds to the collaborative form of education. As Andrea said, I think she had mentioned that their median age is 25. I think ours is 26 or 27. So that creates a rich diversity of life experiences that students are able to bring into the classroom, and that contribute to the learning experience as well. I think it lends a lot of authority to voice and to experience when students understand that they're part of their education process, that it's active and not simply passive. That their lives are not being that they're not having to take a back seat to their education, but that it happens concurrently with one another and informs one another. And we build upon those successes. We build upon those educational successes to create momentum for students, and helping them understand that everybody is entitled to higher education, and that it's essential these days. That everybody has to have access. All of the community colleges are open access institutions, which means that aside from a few selective programs, any student that applies to GCC is accepted. We believe in creating those kinds of opportunities and access for all students, regardless of demographics or regardless of socioeconomic backgrounds, knowing that higher education is needed for both quality of life, and, as we're noticing these days in our current climate, to improve the level of civil discourse. We need education more so than at any time right now, and so we remain committed to providing those opportunities for students. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, you're welcome, Aaron. I want to give our four-year universities a chance to answer that question for students that are coming onto your campuses that do have either priorities that they're balancing, but still hoping to complete their education. I'm wondering, Victoria, if you have a couple words you'd like to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely see students of all ages and backgrounds transferring to Becker. So we understand that some students come with associate's or bachelor's degrees, come with families. So we're definitely supportive of whatever academics you're pursuing and at what pace you want to go. And I know I get a lot of students who ask about life on campus if they are an older learner, and we have a lot of great residencies available, off campus. So a lot of those students will elect to live off campus or they'll commute. So I think what the takeaway from that is that we're here for you no matter what you are looking to get out of your education, especially if you're transferring and you may have a lot of credits or just a few credits you want to wrap up. So whatever works for you, we're here for you, and we're willing to support whatever part of your journey you're in.
Thank you, Victoria. Was there anything, Nicole, you'd like to add?
Hi. So yeah, what Victoria was saying, I absolutely agree. I'd also like to add that having a full-time or part-time job while at Bridgewater is really common. Around 65% of our students are either in a full-time job or a part-time job. And our support services are, they want to help students as much as they can. And so we're willing to and want to adapt and, to get everything that you need, and especially working with faculty. We offer classes at different times, different days to work with your schedule. And then also if, life happens, life comes up, that's an opportunity to talk with our faculty, and they really care about their students. We keep our class sizes small, so the professors always know, our students' names, and, if you'd like to share your backgrounds and whatnot. So working alongside faculty is a great resource as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes, and I think what all of you have mentioned that for students and families is important to know is that there are supports, whether you are starting out in community college, but also if you're using the mass transfer option to come to a four-year university, people are here to work with you on the things that you need in order to succeed. So we have a couple of minutes left before the end of our session. I'm wondering if any of our lovely institutions have any a takeaway that they really want students and families to take home with them as we close out. I will start with you, Harold.
Again, Ed, thank you. I guess I'd just like to add that you guys, as Andrea had mentioned earlier, you guys are resilient. You have the world ahead of you. We really want you to explore your options, and that might mean visiting virtually to all of our campuses. I encourage you to visit our web pages and explore for your programs and specifically for what you are interested in. And if you don't see a particular program on any of our websites, you should definitely reach out to one of the admissions counselors, because there's also other pathways you can take to get to that road, even if we don't offer you your specific program. So I just want to leave you guys with that, and good luck the rest of the year.
All right. Thank you, Harold. And Aaron.
Ed, I wanted to just again thank everybody for having us today, and to reiterate that you're in these circumstances, it's difficult to make these kinds of decisions, but just to bear in mind that your education is yours and yours alone, according to nobody else's expectations and nobody else's timeline. It's time to claim ownership of that, and that what it's designed to do is designed for self-discovery, and pursue that faithfully. And also know that higher education has no expiration date. So that it'll always be there for you when you're ready for it, when you're ready for you to engage in it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. And I want to thank all of our panelists for taking time out of their very busy schedules to sit and talk with our students and families for today. And I want to thank those of you that have tuned in. Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of this video. And yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day and good luck.